Get access to exclusive videos and more, and support the channel on patreon.com/manlightfoot.
You beta! Jellyfish!
All right, Nad, talk over. Don't listen to him, GH.
Why would I listen to you?
Because I'm almost certain that I'm the only one here who still has a wife.
It's easy to think a revival would be cynical about the times we're currently in. Sometimes you get something that feels out of date from where things are or lost to its own times. But then other times you get something like the forever goated King of the Hill, a series that showed off a side of lowercase conservative family living, pre-MAGA. With its more grounded approach to showing off the craziness of that lifestyle, King of the Hill set out to hold a mirror up to white America and have a laugh at its expense, but not from a cynical standpoint, more observation and critique through a simple premise of a dad trying to bond with his son as well as his unhealthy obsession with propane.
The only woman I'm pimping is Sweet Lady Propane, and I'm tricking her out all over this town.
Gonna have to disagree with Hank on this one though. It's Charcoal Gang for life over on this channel. Hank Hill acted as a model of what white America could aspire to. A simple American who cares about his family, has good values, and is humble enough to learn even as an adult. Sure, Hank could be a bit stubborn on things, but he's not above bettering himself. As an American or as a man, King of the Hill wanted to criticize, but at the same time help guide people to better understanding and communicating with each other, especially those on the conservative side. So, with its return in 2025, they continued the same mission. Season 14 of King of the Hill had something to say about what's going on today, and it said it with its whole chest. From COVID to cultural insensitivity to even toxic masculinity and the Manosphere.
I hate it here.
They had to make a point about Hank when it comes to his approach of being a man and how he treats women. And it's a point that comes at a time when many men are forgetting who it is that brought them into this world. So the Manosphere episode is coming at the right time for many young boys and men. It handles things in a way I think is genius and a much needed wake up call. So let's go over how King of the Hill was able to destroy toxic masculinity. Cause seriously, some of y'all niggas need to call y'all mamas. King of the Hill Season 14 brought the Hill family to the new age after the show's ending back in 2010. It was a great finale that gave a bookend to Hank and Bobby's story. I remember the day we all saw the finale where Bobby and Hank actually connect through grilling. To think with all those "that boy ain't right" jokes, Hank was able to find out his boy is going to be alright. Now, I won't regale you with everything that's happened in the old King of the Hill series. You can get those type of breakdowns over on the channel with 2 cellos and 1 Johnny. But I'll at least summarize to what's important to this episode I'm talking about. The biggest thing to know if you haven't watched the new season, even though them ratings ain't lying, we love to see it, we see the Hills in a different spot of their lives. Hank and Peggy retired and moved back to Arlen after a stint in Saudi Arabia for Hank's job.
Saudi Arabia.
Bobby, the real Chad that he was basically made to be, opens a fusion restaurant in Dallas and is still on good terms with Hank and Peggy, with a few bumps here and there, but the episode in this new season we're here to focus on is one called No Hank Left Behind, an episode that doesn't just put a focus on the 2 Hillmen, but a third, often forgotten one. GH, also known as Good Hank, for those that really don't remember this kid, he's the baby Hank's dad Cotton had with a former classmate / mother-in-law of Hank.
Ooh.
I'm glad later generations woke up to how creepy that type of stuff is. Cotton treated GH like the son he always wanted, even though Hank was already that and GH was just a baby. Cotton really was a bastard, but that's what makes him work. He's a representation of toxic masculine traits that have long since been tired. Hell, they were tired when Cotton was born, let's be real. I'll get a bit into that later though. But these toxic traits sadly live on through stuff like the fraudulent Manosphere clowns, who pin boys and men's shortcoming on women just like Cotton would do with Hank's mom. And sadly, GH gets caught up in that garbage, and it's up to Hank to actually be a real male role model for his little brother. GH is a young boy that is pretty impressionable. He does the typical stuff of only focusing on his phone and video games with his friends, which also means he spends too much time alone with his thoughts and the internet. And you know what that can bring.
It's not porn.
I'm talking about dumbass dating guru, the bane of decency's existence. GH is given awful advice from some douchebag whose nipples look like they hate this nigga, filling his head with terrible expectations of what being a man is supposed to be, making him believe he's already lost at life when he hasn't even begun yet. It shows off what's wrong with these terrible Manosphere types trying to give advice to young minds, making them believe in the worst aspects of themselves and life and giving up without even trying. Hank is reluctant to be a role model for GH for understandable reasons. GH is a reminder of his dad Cotton and how Hank couldn't live up to his dad's ridiculous and misogynistic conservative standards. Hank did struggle back in the old series to really connect to Cotton. They could see eye to eye on some things, but never enough for Cotton to be truly proud of just Hank. And I know there are moments where Cotton admits Hank's better than him, especially with raising Bobby, but there shouldn't be a qualifier. Cotton should love Hank regardless, especially since he turned out pretty great. But we know he died without really giving Hank true closure to all the pain he had to endure under Cotton's care. So for Hank to now have to look out for someone who took a little after Cotton than he did, especially with GH's full name being an insult to Hank, you get his hesitation. Thankfully for Hank, he's a good person and does the right thing, but not without growing pain. Hank and GH can have a great older brother / younger brother relationship. You see it in moments where Hank encourages GH, like in the boot camp.
Come on, GH, we can finish this.
No, I can't. I'm just another weak loser destined for cuctitude.
What?
Those words, whatever they mean, have never described a hill.
New Hyaluron Pure by L'Oreal Paris.
We are worth it.
There is a brother's bond there that just needs some time dedicated to it. GH takes after a pretty hateful man and, like many other young boys, clearly can get led astray by men like Cotton. GH is a great vehicle for showcasing the effects the Manosphere has on a young boy. A lot of them spend too much time on the internet watching these videos and they're legit poisoning them. These Manosphere creeps preach hatred towards women and self-loathing towards men and boys, filling their heads with the idea that they'll never be enough, even though the rest of the world already thinks they are. GH is just a teenager. His love life hasn't even really begun. So watching trash that makes you believe you ain't shit while dealing with puberty, which already makes you feel and think like shit, is a recipe for constant self-loathing. When this boy says he'll be a cuck loser for the rest of his life, you know he's just tripping. Like, come on, you haven't been through enough to be thinking like that. Teenagers can get caught up with their feelings because, again, they're dealing with puberty. It's a bunch of new emotions that nobody wants to properly explain to them. A lot of them start off on some doomer shit thinking the world hates them when they haven't even really been out in the world. In many young boys and GH's case, they're having girl troubles, particularly understanding that friendship is more important than trying to find a dating partner at their age. GH, like many boys, think there's a such thing as a friend zone when it comes to girls. They get caught up in their own heads and overthink certain actions from people. In this case, it's thinking a girl wanting to just be friends is bad. Instead of being happy you have a friend at all. GH can't see the good in that and instead feels entitled to romance, mainly because these dumbass Manosphere videos trying to justify bad thinking on romantic relationships. Sometimes that requires mutual feelings from both parties. Nobody wants to be in a relationship with somebody they don't love or even like. Those type of relationships don't end great, just so you know. Sometimes they end a death for all parties involved even. GH mentions staying up all night with this girl he likes, talking about their problems as if that's exclusive to just romantic partners. And I just need to say this, even though it wasn't stated in the episode. You shouldn't feel led on just because she doesn't reciprocate your feelings, especially when you didn't even make your feelings clear in the first place. I know back in the day our parents and grandparents didn't really express their feelings that much, but we need to actually let people be aware of intentions so they can give an honest answer. With GH, he didn't let the girl know how he felt, so all he was left with was uncertainty in what her answer could be. My advice to young boys listening, or any parents that need some advice to give on this, is just ask. If she says no but still wants to be friends, then be happy she wants you as a friend. Don't be weird about it and linger on those unrequited feelings. It just makes her want to not be around you at all, you know? Cause it's weird. Learn to move on and find someone that does like you romantically. Just some advice that so many people somehow forget and I think need reminding of every now and then. Especially some Manosphere jackasses that preach like they ain't got no mamas. Thankfully the B-plot with Bobby and Peggy does reminding for these type of clowns. First time black people got to animate us on our own merit, so of course the crew went all out. My biggest contention with Maya is she comes across too Disney princessy. Jimmy Neutron should hold a more major prominent place in 3D animation history just because it's like this movie still looks pretty good. Bobby and Peggy have a B-plot that may seem like it's not connected to the GH and Hank story, but it's still a pretty significant lesson for young men, even if it's not a very conflict-heavy one. It revolves around Peggy feeling like her connection with Bobby is fizzling, what with him running his restaurant in Dallas fairly far away from Peggy, whose friends Nancy and Mann have good contacts with their kids, and even rub it in her face a little bit.
How are we supposed to play with an odd number, Peggy Hill? Since your son abandoned you again?
I am sure you two know how it is now that our kids are grown.
Connie and I talk all the time. She loves me.
Damn, y'all, she ain't even do nothing, y'all riding her ass. Though I can't blame y'all. Awooga! Peggy feels like her and Bobby are growing apart as a mother and son, especially with Bobby not finding time to help her through her recent knee injury, even when she has panic attacks when she gets in the close and tight spaces. Though it's not long that they grow closer again after some pencil fighting.
Okay.
God, I love how simple but effective this show can be. There's no grand moment between these two that makes Bobby have a revelation or feel guilty. He just sees that his mom tried to call him multiple times and notices that she doesn't panic when she's surrounded by people who care about her. Bobby gets the message he should just be there for his mom, especially for her medical visits when she needs an MRI. It's a fun message to young men that you're not too busy to spend time with your mom, and that you clearly should spend more time with them versus just focusing on your work, or in GH's cases, watching Manosphere videos. It's what good parents want from their kids. Seriously, I guarantee you if you call your mama right now, she'd tell you the same thing or something close. Go on, do it, then come back here and tell me about it in the comments. Or shoot a video or TikTok of you doing it and shoot it my way on socials. Thankfully, Bobby never needed to deal with any of that Manosphere crap, even though Peggy and Bobby's plot don't have anything to do with Hank and GH's, but the way the A-plot concludes does reinforce the B-plot. The A-plot covers how fraudulent these type of men's groups can be. Some might start off just fine, but then you get those weirdo Andrew Tate, who is a damn human trafficker and assaulter, mind you, types who push nasty agendas to help fill their pockets. None of them believe in anything and they all just want a paycheck. They tend to get boys and men to believe in this garbage by seeming like they want to help, but it's really a lure for more nefarious and scammy intentions. The guru in this makes things seem like this is a safe space for downtrodden men to work through their problems. Instead, it acts like every other fake male self-improved seminar / boot camp. Even down to that stupid giving up bell that they tend to have, or freaking fake testicles they pass around the room. They spread the idea that men's misfortunes are from their women troubles, or even softly implying or heavily stating being gay is bad and hurting you as a man in general, like the guru did when mentioning working for someone else. He goes out of his way to twist every man's problem into being because of women instead of just being a personal growth problem.
Nobody gets my jokes.
And who doesn't get your jokes?
Everyone?
And who is slightly more than half of everyone?
Females!
Well, sounds like your old man should have kicked your ass another time or two.
Of course you could get mad at these dudes for going along with that guy in the first place, but they also agree his methods are bad as well at some point. The episode does a great job of not tossing these followers fully away. It recognizes some of these men are just lost and looking for some help. They actually help each other through their shortcomings once they figure out the guru's full of shit.
Hey, King, you know your dating profile says you're 6'2". You can't blame women for being disappointed when they meet you and see you're 5'4".
Mini tangent real quick. I never got the idea of lying on a profile. Like, you do know they have to meet you, right? They're gonna see you lied. You're literally walking evidence of your own farce. No relationship started on a lie is gonna be worth maintaining. But regardless of lies, the guys helping each other is an honorable display of what brohood could look like. Okay, I'm gonna come on camera here because I think I should say these words face to face. You know, let's talk man to man here. As a man, I wanna say this. Most, if not all your problems have nothing to do with women. You're not owed any attention from anybody just because. Feeling inadequate comes from your lack of belonging. You want community more than anything. These help groups can be a great way to find and meet people, but when they tell you somebody else is to blame, even though they don't even know who you are or your situation, that's a red flag, and you really need to get out of there. For those struggling to just befriend women, separate your mind from gender and sex and focus on making a connection with a person. Try to be friends with women first. Don't focus on dating them. You'll find girls and women can make really cool friends just as any other guy can. Even non-gendered folk, trans folk and such can make great friends too, trust me. Some you'll consider family even. Be happy knowing you have the skills to make friends. That's really the best type of advice I want to give to you for that. For those trying to find love, the key really is patience and being able to communicate. especially communicating your emotions. That is vital. You're looking for a partner, not just a spouse, and damn sure not a trad wife, i.e. a slave. They need to know what's going on with you. And this applies to everyone you consider close to you, even friends and family. The old days of staying stoic are long gone for a good reason. Nobody liked living in it. Why would anyone want to live with someone who can't express themselves in a healthy way? Really ask yourself that question. Do you even want to deal with someone like that? You're presenting yourself as a wild card that could flip out at any moment, and obviously that's just scary. No one wants to deal with a wild card that can possibly flip out on them. Not to mention, most of those stoic men these Manosphere types idolized turned out to be pretty much human garbage. Let's be real about it. A lot of them turned out to be pretty abusive bastards or deadbeats. They weren't noble people. Especially since a lot of the men that hold back their feelings tend to go insane. Just something to keep in mind, okay? The human brain can only take but so much internal suffering. Come on now. Young boys and men can get wrapped up in these ideas and fantasies of settling down that they forget it's a team effort, and also that you are supposed to actually settle down. You know, it means actually calming down and trying to lock in on being a family person. That's what that really means. It doesn't mean you get to just still act like a brat, okay? The women you're trying to get with are looking for someone who will respect them as a person, not live up to a dream girl in your head. That's just not realistic at all. Would you want to be with someone who doesn't take anything you have to say seriously? There are many men and women who have been in abusive relationships that have some horror stories for you. Or hell, there's also the sad plethora of men and women who were lucky to survive damn near deadly relationships. So, do you really think it's right to rush into romance?
Yeah, whatever, friend zone Freddy.
Oftentimes, these help groups are hosted by frauds who aren't truthful about where their money comes from. In this case, the guru's money for this whole thing came from his mom, which is great on the episode keeping women in this conversation, to be honest. Let's face it, most of these Manosphere guys' moms would be hitting them with a switch for talking like this, and I'm glad this episode was willing to show, yeah, most of these guys do not get their money through legitimate means. They are not teaching you how to be a better man, they're just teaching you how to be a scam artist. That's what you're learning. And the way this dude was trying to get GH caught up on some bullshit is also just very unsettling.
Instead of allowing yourself to live in the friend zone, like your simping beta brother suggested, you should ask out all of that girl's friends to make her jealous. Then she'll perceive you as having higher value.
The people saying this should seek medical attention because something has happened to their brains.
No grown-ass man should be telling a teenager or a kid this type of crap. Like, this freak deserves to be under hell. This that DJ academic shit. Boys, if y'all are watching, please steer clear of dudes like this. They will lead you down a path that many boys and men haven't recovered from. Hank makes it a point that women aren't holding anyone back.
My wife, mother, and our propane delivery woman have supported me through just about every crisis I can think of. And if we aren't getting support from those women in our lives, it's because we haven't earned it. That's the lesson this camp should teach.
A great lesson on understanding respect goes both ways. You can't just demand women have respect for you without giving it back. And that honestly goes for everyone you're trying to connect with.
I'd like to continue to help him on his journey.
Catch you later, big bro.
Hank is fine.
No Hank Left Behind is a great episode that wraps up the Cotton saga and opens the book on GH's saga. It gives men and boys a good lesson on what being a man is supposed to look like. A message that I think needs to be taught as bluntly as possible just to hammer it in. King of the Hill Season 14 is something I absolutely love. Every episode was just genuinely gold. None of them missed, and all of them had very potent and important things to say about current matters. King of the Hill's return seemed like it could have went so wrong, but thankfully it was handled with great care. They actually understood the assignment of what needed to be said. They were able to say something important about what's currently going on without being cynical about it, and even give great lessons currently for people who are feeling a bit lost. There were/are many young boys and men falling to terrible habits that needed a reminder what being a man is supposed to be about. Of course, you shouldn't just be getting advice from drawings, but that doesn't mean a drawing can't tap into your humanity. But that's just a thought.